All right, let's roll into some AEW.
AEW. So yeah, like I stated earlier, it's kind of a mixed bag with the limited roster with folks that are just pretty much on that southeast coast, and a couple guys that have been able to make the trip from various parts of the country.
Yeah,
That
I meant to ask you
oh, go
how
ahead.
come LAX isn't there? Are they just
So because they're New York guys, I imagine all the New York guys, them, MJF, Joey Janela, all those guys from that New York metropolitan area are probably on pretty hardcore lockdown, and they're just kind of staying home, staying safe, doing that sort of thing. That's why we haven't seen any of those folks up there yet or down there yet.
so it must be like a lot the restrictions must be pretty heavy up there.
Yeah, I mean, if you've looked at the crazy infection and death toll that's gone on in the state of New York, it's fucking insane. It's like more than what has been announced in China. Who knows, whether the Chinese numbers are legit or not. But there I saw one number, a couple days ago, maybe it was like 4 or 5 days ago, that said in one day they had 799 deaths from COVID, which is in fucking insane.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw the pictures of the mass grave they did of people that didn't have relatives. It's fucking sad.
Yeah.
Um but yeah, I'm surprised why nah, that's not a topic for wrestling.
Yeah.
So why don't they cremate them? It's cheaper and it's fucking gets rid of the disease.
Right. Right.
What if somebody opens that coffin up by mistake in a fucking 100 or 200 years?
And it's like opening a package of anthrax that we were worried about,
Well, pretty
10
much. I
years
mean, I
ago.
don't think the germs are gonna die. They're just gonna sit there and fester inside that giant
Right.
coffin.
Right. Right.
Um, but yeah, so anyways, AEW.
Yeah, we got the TNT championship, which is, you and I have talked about before, is the pretty corny fucking name for a championship. And you know
Yeah.
does it only have to be defended on TNT? Can it be defended on Dark, which is on YouTube? Can it be defended on pay-per-views, which are not on TNT? It's like you kind of limited yourself with that verbiage. I mean, I think it's AEW and they don't really care. They're going to do what they want, but I just was not a fan of the championship name choice.
Yeah, me either. I think they could have came up with something better, but I mean, maybe they're sucking TNT's dick because they gave him a 2 more year contract. And I think
Three more
if I'm
years.
oh, is it 3 more years? If
Yeah.
I'm mistaken, did they sign that contract to do a second show with that?
I believe their intent was to at some point do a second show like WCW did back in the day with Thunder.
With Thunder. Well,
Yeah.
actually, I heard someplace they might just add Dark to it, or maybe yeah,
Or convert Dark from the YouTube show and turn it into a TV show.
yeah,
And
yeah,
just and
yeah.
is it going to be like main event? Is it going to be something that's pre-taped and then shown on a different day, or is it going to be something that they're going to actually have another arena and run a live show on a second day?
Well, yeah, too. And another thing is, are they going to run it like how they kind of ran Thunder for a minute, which was kind of a separate roster, kind of like SmackDown and Raw a little
Yeah,
bit,
right.
because Eric Bischoff in an interview said once that the reason he brought Bret Hart over was because they knew Thunder was going to be a thing and they needed a champion for Thunder as well and a face of Thunder, and they want to make Bret Hart that face.
Yeah, because they weren't they debating at one time because the NWO was so huge that there was going to be an NWO show and a WCW show.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not 100% sure on that. I mean, that wouldn't surprise me. The NWO was really, really big. I know that they did their first very own pay-per-view and stuff like that.
Yeah,
But
yeah. Well,
yeah,
the NWO versus WCW is sold out.
yeah, yeah. Uh, but yeah, so I mean, I don't know. Uh, I'm pretty impressed with Lance Archer. I
Oh
didn't know
yeah,
much about him until this happened.
yeah. I've been following his career since he was with over in New Japan when he was tagging with Davey Boy Smith Jr. and they were the what the hell was the name of their tag team? Oh, KES, the Killer Elite Squad, and then they joined Minoru Suzuki, which is Pancrase, legend, and now Japanese wrestling legend, and joined his faction, Suzuki Gun, and They kind of did their own thing. And he's a character, man. Like when he was doing his thing in Japan, he would, drink some water. He'd be running through the crowd, spitting water and shit on people, and like getting folks all riled up, and always punching, the young lions or young boys, whatever they call them, like their enhancement talent that is out there as crowd control. He'd always punch one of those guys out, just like he started doing AEW every single time he walks out. Somebody gets
Yeah.
punched in the face before the match starts.
Fuck, it was kind of hard to watch him and Marco Stunt, dude.
Yeah, I mean, a 270-pound man against a 135-pound child, essentially. It was
He
it,
must
was- it was a
not
little rough.
he must not have hurt him though, because he was out there the next week just fine. But what shows you how good he is,
Yeah, right.
because I was like, either I've got a newfound respect for Marco Stunt, or he's legitimately hurt because Lance Archer legitimately destroyed him, because Marco Stunt sold the shit out of
Right.
it. So I mean, I don't think he deserves to be on a roster, but I mean,
He's
he just
he's a niche wrestler, and he fits a niche. I mean, just like the Orange Cassidy of AEW, he's a niche wrestler that's very over because he's different, because he's just kind of goofy. He's a niche wrestler. He would never flourish in the WWE world, but in this AEW, we're not really a rebel, but we're going against the grain, company. He fits a niche, and people love niches.
yeah, yeah. Well, the thing about niches is they go away
Yeah,
eventually.
at some point, the marks are going to kind of be like, okay, we've seen this thing time and time again. Let's evolve into something else.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah. I mean, it's like, I mean, it's gonna be hard enough to get Jungle Boy over with how small he is,
Yeah, I know. I mean,
And
Jericho loves that kid and has put him over many times whenever he's had an opportunity. When he talked to him on his podcast, and I want to say he did commentary one day when Jungle Boy was wrestling, and Jericho views him as a future world champion in that company.
it wouldn't surprise me. I think him and Darby Allin both are future world champions in that country, or in that organization.
Sammy Guevara fits in that mix as well.
Yep, exactly. Sammy's good too. They're all three good. Um, and it's cool to see, because you can see they're working on becoming that
Right.
role. Dar- Darby Allin and Jungle Boy and Sammy Guevara, they have all put on a little weight. They've all toned themselves up since they've been in AEW. You can tell that being around guys like Jericho and Omega, and probably all the fucking talent in the back like Arn Anderson and
Dean
JR.
Malenko, yeah, Jerry Lynn, yeah, guys that
Yeah,
have been like, you want to make it, this is what you need to do.
yeah, you don't got to be the biggest fucking dude on the roster. I mean, look at Shawn Michaels, was never insanely big, but you tone yourself up, act like you give a shit, act like you're working hard to do it, so people are a little more believable that you're putting the work in to be a world champion, and you're not just fucking writing a script with your winning
Yeah,
it.
perfect example. Like Sean was billed all his career at 227 pounds. Bullshit, he's 227 pounds.
Yeah. Well, and they lied about his height too. I
Yeah,
think he's barely 6 foot. He's pretty much, if you think of an average guy, that's Shawn
right,
Michaels.
right.
But I never noticed though until I was
So,
until I was an
so you're a
adult, how
smart mark.
fucking small
You're
he.
a smart mark, and you figured it out.
Yeah, I never noticed, because he's just that he lived the part of being larger than fucking
Right,
life. Um, so it worked, and it can work, and it can work for those
right.
guys, and you can tell they're putting in the work. Darby's starting to fill out in his shoulders. I mean, Cody made the mention of it on commentary a couple weeks ago, that you can tell these guys are
Yeah,
putting in the
they're
work. I
they're
mean,
filling out a little bit. Yeah.
yeah, and they're all pretty young too. I mean, I don't think Darby is, but
No, Darby's still, he's under 30. He's 20, 25, 26, something like that.
oh
And
really? I thought he was a little older than
and
everybody else was.
Jungle Boy's 22, 23, and Sammy Guevara is 26. They're all still got plenty of miles left.
But I mean, if you think about it, I mean, like they're probably right where they should be in a couple years, 2, 3 years, if things keep going good for AEW, and and they don't manage to get any drug problems or any bullshit on them, and they stay working hard and doing good. There's no reason any of those three can't be wrestling each other for
Yeah,
the
right.
belt, you
Yeah,
know?
I just looked it up. Darby's
Because
27, so yeah, so they're all sub 30.
okay, I don't foresee Jericho staying around as a full timer for too much longer. I mean, and by that I mean a year or two, you
Well,
know?
he signed an extension a few months back to give him like another 4 years on his contract.
Oh
Yeah,
wow. But really though, man, like he better take it easy though.
yeah. I think. Granted, the world's in a weird spot, but I think this commentary role that he's been in the last two AEW shows has been phenomenal. He still plays the great Jericho heel, but also like helps put guys over that a normal
He
bad
does.
guy, normal heel would not put guys over.
Yeah, he's been absolutely great on commentary. I was actually pretty impressed with Cody too. I mean, there were some parts where I wasn't so into it, but Cody did pretty well on commentary too. I've been really enjoying the commentary, especially with Y2J
Yeah,
though. They've been fun. It's been money. And like I was gonna say though, I just this is just as a wrestling role, you know. I could see him taking like today I was watching old WCW and I watched like the eighth fucking version of the Horsemen get formed and I was reminded though, and actually not reminded but shown how good Arn Anderson can be on the fucking microphone. Back in the day, he was a fucking good fucking talker.
yeah. Those
And,
WCW studio shows when he was actually able to talk a little bit. Yeah, no,
mm-hmm.
yeah, I know you're exactly what you're talking about.
And I could see Jericho stepping into a role like that where maybe he just runs like something like the Inner Circle and he can still take a bump or two, still throw some punches, maybe even do a match every once in a while, but not do it as full time as he's right now. I mean, they desperately needed him, I think, to put the belt on him at first because he was the most relevant wrestler in that organization,
Yeah,
you know.
before frickin' Mox came over, yeah, he was. Even after
Yeah.
Mox, he's still the
Oh,
most well
even
known,
after,
still the most well known name.
absolutely. But yeah, and I think they took the belt off him a little premature. I think we've talked about this before. I think that they banked on him going out with Fozzy, and they wanted to get it off him a little quicker than they probably should have. So they handed it to Mox. It's probably the logical next step to put it on.
Right.
And now that Fozzy's not out, it kind of sucks because if they could have used a lot more time with Jericho as the champ, and it probably would have done nothing but good for that belt. Not saying Mox isn't doing an okay job with it, but Jericho is just so fucking good with it.
Oh,
You know?
he's so phenomenal on the mic, and Mox has his moments where he's got some good little stuff he says, but he's John Moxley, the CZW hardcore wrestler. He's not Dean Ambrose, the goofy get beat up and then Hulk his way back up and whoop the shit out of people. So yeah,
Honestly, I think he's kind of in between those two.
no, yeah, no, he's
Uh,
definitely in between, but I would say leaning more towards the CZW version of John Moxley pre WWE days.
well, yeah, for sure. He's trying to. But I don't know. He's got some of the goofy shit too, like with the fucking um with the hold on, I'm gonna try to fucking mute my Facebook Messenger. Felix is drunk and I can see him not getting the hint, me not answering him as me not wanting to talk right now because how that works sometimes is he sends like 20 messages regardless if I text him back or not. I can't delete it, so hopefully. But anyways, but like with the car shit and like
Yeah,
some of the stuff, you know. But yeah, his role's being taken a little more serious.
yeah.
He's
The
not
eye
pushing
patch was in Goofy in that thing
things
here.
back.
Yeah,
Yeah, which I think some of it. I think that was some great stuff. I love that version of Ambrose,
yeah,
especially when he had the belt. But it was funny though. Once they gave him the belt, he just like stopped giving a shit.
yeah.
It was like,
There must have been something going on behind closed doors that we didn't see that he was not a fan of.
Yeah, have you ever watched that podcast with fucking Steve Austin? I think Austin was about to fucking choke him.
Oh, really? I did never actually watch that one.
You never watched it? You should watch it if you get a chance because I'd never seen a guy not give a shit so much in my life. I was disappointed because he was one of my favorite wrestlers
Right.
there. You know
Right.
that. Even as Ambrose, he was one of my favorite
Right.
wrestlers. And he wasn't all that good at times there,
Yeah.
you know? I swear to God, if I saw him do that fucking kick rope thing one more time, I was going to lose my fucking mind, you know?
Yep.
But he was always my favorite Shield guy. I always thought he was underrated and underused, but he went on this podcast after winning the belt, and he was just like, oh, you know, like it was like he was the most unpersonable person ever. It
Huh.
was like Steve was trying to be cool, trying to get him to talk, and it was like an hour of the most awkward, fucking painfully hard to watch podcast I've ever seen. And Stone Cold's good. You know, I've never watched one besides that one. I think that I haven't really thoroughly enjoyed. You know.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie. I haven't watched the podcast a lot, but I do subscribe to his actual podcast and listen to a lot of when he talks to folks outside of the WWE world.
Yeah.
And he's great on there. Like I don't know if you've ever listened to the Stone Cold MJF one. The Stone Cold MJF one is fantastic.
Yeah, I think you're telling me about it. He didn't break kayfabe, did he?
No, he didn't break kayfabe, and he was gonna toss him out the window at the end. It was fucking great.
The one with, I mean, the one he didn't break kayfabe with Jericho either.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
That's what I love about him. He's old school, and he's only like 22 or
20,
23 or some
23,
shit.
yeah. He's
Yeah, and he's old school.
yeah, it's fantastic. Like he, you know, I think is the best heel in all of pro wrestling. Like best pure heel that gets it.
But there's another guy that's going to be in that picture in the next few years.
Right.
Is MJ.
Right.
He might be there sooner than those guys. Honestly,
Yeah. I really wish he would have been in this TNT tournament. I think
I
that they put that
only
belt on him.
reason is they were trying to put Archer over one, and that's a situation where if they would have put MJF in and had him lose, it doesn't do anything for him.
Right.
You know.
Right.
Um, so maybe that's part of it, and maybe part of it's the fact that he's fucking not there.
Yeah,
You
no,
know.
I mean, I think that's the majority of it is this pandemic is definitely throwing a wrench into storylines. That's for dang sure.
But as much as you and I both know that I'm not a huge fan of the person Jake the Snake is.
Yeah, you've had that a run in or two with him.
Yeah, a personal one. He's not the nicest guy in the world that I've seen. Um, this whole DDP yoga thing is great, and he's soberish and stuff, but
Right.
he's not like he's still a fucking prick. And if anything, he's probably more of a prick because he's not fucked up.
Right. Right.
But he ain't missed a beat, really. I mean, fucking A. What a fucking great storyline that is.
That first promo he cut was holy shit.
Fuck, almost everyone he's done since then has been right up there with
right,
it,
Right. But
and on Jim Cornette's podcast, they were talking about how like his promos are great and stuff on this, but they were also saying like how like for the first two he did, you almost forgot he was putting Archer over.
Yeah, exactly. You thought it was just him and Cody thing.
Yeah, because and Cornette was like, he's got to start pushing Archer because or else it doesn't make any fucking sense. Because like he's like, I love the promos, but he's like, if he doesn't start pushing Archer soon, I swear to God, the next week he started pushing Archer.
Right.
It was the fuck, like he knows what he's doing. He's building. He's one of the greatest fucking minds in wrestling. He's such a good tool for them to have if he can remain sober and not piss them off and not shit on him. And I think having Diamond Dallas Page so close to him through the whole thing will probably help.
Yeah, and Diamond, and Dallas being so close with Cody too, I think is he'll help do his damnedest to keep him on the straight and narrow.
Well, yeah, and I'm not even thinking just like I mean he could be sober, but like I could see him just like offending the shit out of the female wrestlers or something because he's a fucking pervert still, like I could see him just like fucking pissing somebody off, dropping the N bomb, like you're talking about Cornette earlier and how he shouldn't have a role like that. Well, it's probably the same reason Jake the Snake shouldn't have a role for that, because and it's almost worse,
Right. This is why
because
he's been off TV for
Cornette
20
tries
years.
Cornette tries to put a filter on sometimes. Like Jake the Snake doesn't give a
Mm-hmm.
shit. Like I was beyond the ring the other day, and Vince McMahon was like, I don't know if there's a difference between the character and the man. And from the week that I spent kind of being around him, I don't think that's
Yeah, it's
bullshit.
probably pretty
Yeah,
true.
it's pretty close. They're pretty close to the same fucking
I mean, yeah,
person.
you've spent time with him, so you know him as a person, sorts for a week or two or whatever it was.
We got off on the wrong foot too. So for anybody who's listening that wants to hear the story, might as well tell it since we're doing a
Right.
podcast. So a few years back, I booked about a week worth of shows for Jake the Snake out here in the Pacific Northwest for his spoken word stuff, and he came out here with his daughter and this really funny comedian named Alex Ansel, and um, to say that it was a pleasant experience would be a absolute lie. Uh, it wasn't the worst, though. I'll be honest. Um, but he did not like me from the go. Um, he wasn't happy with the money he was getting out here. He wasn't happy with some shit. Just bad luck happened that made me look like shit. I mean, things that happen when you're a booker, and you just can't control. But I'm here. I'm booking one of the biggest names I've ever booked, and of course everything goes wrong. Like they like had a fucking typhoon in Seattle the night I
Yeah, that's what
showed
it was.
up.
I couldn't remember if it was a fire or yes, some crazy weather thing that messed up that show at Krista Blackburn's place, or what, wasn't it Krista's place?
Well, and then it was the
Oh, okay.
manager. It was a fucking. They fired their assistant manager, and their manager called, or the ex assistant manager called the venue and canceled the show, acting like he was Jake's booking
Got it.
agent. So I didn't know anything about it, so I saw the venue said tonight's show, Jake the Snake's canceled. Um, so I fucking got on the fucking phone and I was like, "What the fuck?" So first off, I was like wondering like I was like, why are you guys canceling the show without telling me? Because I thought that they did
Right.
call. So I got on the phone with Jake's daughter, who's actually she's a very
Uh-huh.
nice girl. I shouldn't my Jake was the only one that was a prick to me, to be honest. Alex was kind of a prick, but I think he was getting his ass chewed because he was supposed to be like Jake's personal assistant. But he actually warmed up to me later too. I think they kind of saw because I went with them the whole
Mm-hmm.
time and tried to keep everything as smooth. I'd hit the venues up in front and be like, "Hey, we need to turn all the TVs off. This is a comedy show." We booked them at bars and shit like
Right.
that. So like a lot of places I was booking them at were like places that aren't used to doing comedy. So um, we went and did the whole shebang. But long story short, that um, come to find out, they didn't cancel it. Krista said somebody called and told them that, and they figured out that it was the ex manager fucking with the
Hmm.
show. So Jake was pissed and chewed my ass the one night, and fucking uh, it was just
Yeah.
not good. And um, but he was a prick to me pretty much the whole time until the very last night I was with him, and then he was kind of civil, but he just wasn't making the money out here he thought he was deserved. And to be honest with you, I mean, it's cost a lot of money to fly three
Right.
people, and feed them and rent cars and shit like that. And he probably did not make much money coming
Right.
out here. You know, I was very honest with him from the get go. This is what you're gonna get. We did a lot of door deals because with something like that, it's not always bad to do door deals. But when we got there, I promoted the best I could. I got him radio play in certain
Mm-hmm.
towns and shit like that. I got him a radio interview at KISW with
Right.
Migs, and I got him uh, a radio spot in Richland, and um, So I mean, I did the best I could on
Right.
all ends, but it wasn't there, and it's just one of those things where he's not as big as he thinks he is. And at the time, I thought maybe he'd have a lot more momentum because the documentary just hit Netflix and it was really
Uh-huh.
popular. So, but yeah, so my run-in with Jake the Snake was not all that great. Um, but Cody, his daughter, is a super nice gal, and Alex was good. To be honest, I never got paid my cut for the last show either. I was getting a 10% cut of the fucking show. So,
Bit the
um,
bullet there.
and didn't even, I guess, so Jake the Snake technically owes me some money from his Bend show because I was like, I'm not going to Bend. Like I was like, after the last few days, I was just so burnt out and stressed. And at that point in time, that's kind of right when Ruckus things had really started to go
Mm-hmm.
into shit. So like my music festivals are going downhill, and then I caught this glimpse like, oh wow, my fucking hero, one of them, like needs a booker and this isn't within reach. Like I had this vision of us like hanging out and talking old wrestling matches and shit, and like all these I had like just this vision of like fucking being his
And
booker, like
now you're
maybe
gonna be
this
best buds, and he's
good,
gonna get you in with XYZ wrestling companies, and yeah.
whatever. I mean, not quite like that, but I thought maybe I'd get to work with him again, maybe get his phone number, so I can get to call him and talk to him every once in a while or
Right.
some shit, but he fucking hated me from the fucking get go. So, yeah, that's how
Right.
life works. And that was kind of the beginning of the end of, I mean, that kind of a beginning of a downward spiral for my shit. So, yeah, like, yeah, it was bad. And I was up there too. And I'd row I'd kind of put all my eggs in that
Mm-hmm.
basket and up there broke. And they were supposed to pay me my cut of whatever they made every night. And the first night they
Oh
split.
wow.
And I had no money up there. And Jack Rainwater had to come bail my ass out, especially since that next night got fucking
Right.
canceled.
Huh.
You know? So I was like, are you guys going to fucking pay me or what? Like, it's no big deal, but you told me you're going to pay me. Like, I fucking came up here to keep things going good to make sure you didn't get fucked
Right.
up here.
You knew the people and whatnot.
Yeah. And and the only reason this works is because like you're supposed to be giving me a cut, like not expecting to be rich, but I need to put fucking gas in my
And
car and
food in your
fucking
belly, yeah,
food in my
right.
stomach. So, but they did. They paid me the next night. They were like, well, usually we cut it at the end of the tour, which means they were gonna try to
Yeah,
probably fuck me.
exactly.
It's like there's a lot of tricks in the wrestling business that I'm aware of. That's one of them.
Right.
And then they were trying to convince the motels that their rider was 2 motel rooms when it was one.
Mm-hmm.
It was just like I said, a shit show from the get go. But he's doing great, man, and I'm still a fan of his stuff regardless. And I had a couple cool moments with him, like in Richmond, we actually got to talk, and I think he kind of started forgiving me because I'd came through for him, and um, I think he genuinely knew that I wasn't
Right.
bullshitting. At least that the shit that had happened was not because I'm a fucking idiot. It's just because
Right.
shit
Right.
happens. And even though the shows weren't as great as he wanted them to be or whatever, I think that he knew that I did the best I
Right.
could at least for him. But yeah, so it wasn't all bad. And his if anybody out there is listening gets a chance to go see his show, it's really good. I'm like I liked sitting through him and listening to him. He's hilarious. He tells some great old school stories. A good example of it is on Chris Jericho's podcast when they did the big interview with him on the
Oh
wrestling
yeah, yeah.
Rock and
When
Rager
they
or
were
whatever.
yeah going to the Bahamas. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's a lot of his stuff there. He tells some hilarious stories and but yeah, so he hasn't really missed a beat though. God, he came in swinging and nobody expected him either. That's another thing. I didn't expect to
Uh
see
huh.
him that night. there was a lot going on. Everybody was expecting Hardy to show up and Brody Lee to show up, and everybody knew somebody was going to
Right.
fucking show up, but nobody expected Jake Roberts pulling in Lance Archer. And then they did the big swerve, like who's it going to be,
Right.
you know? And I'm actually glad they did Lance Archer,
Oh yeah.
you know, uh, because I don't know, I don't think Brody would have been
No, I
as
mean
good.
Brody can talk for himself. Lance can talk for himself, but because he's such a big imposing figure, having a guy that's, got that that way with words that Jake has is just very fitting to make this guy over and destructive even more so.
Yeah, yeah. And I don't think Lance Archer's quite as known as those other two. So putting him with a guy like Jake puts him in the big picture quick where he
Yeah,
deserves to
if you're
be,
not
you
if
know?
you weren't following Japanese wrestling over the past 5 to 6 years, you have no idea who Lance Archer was. Some folks might have remembered him from his WWE days when he was Lance Hoyt, but that was 10 years ago, if not further. So I barely remember Lance Hoyt, but I followed New Japan, so I know who Lance Archer is.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, he's good. They're doing a good thing there. I hope Jay keeps doing it. I hope that he
Yeah,
does well because um, I think that he's a good asset to that company too if he can keep his
right,
shit
right.
straight. What else is going on in
Well, they're
there?
doing some BTE for those folks that watch the Being the Elite program on YouTube. They're doing a handful of matches from the Young Bucks compound that Nick and Matt Jackson live next door to each other, and they have a big old basketball court with a wrestling ring that they've rented from PWG that they're doing goofy, some goofy matches and some legit matches with the guys that are in that neck of the woods. So the Young Bucks, SoCal Uncensored, SCU, Peter Avalon, Brandon Cutler, and then a handful of indie guys have been down there just doing something to keep themselves busy since they've been on lockdown for the last four weeks.
Ah, yeah, right on. Yeah, I haven't really been following it. Sometimes I hit it up,
Yeah,
but haven't really been
yeah.
watching Being the
They're,
Elite
they're doing
lately.
a big build for being the Elite 200, which comes out next Monday, and it's a one-on-one match between Nick and Matt, which should be a fairly entertaining match because those are both very entertaining wrestlers as is.
Yeah. Um, well, and I'm not sure that's happened on
Yeah,
been
I don't think
filmed.
it's ever. I mean, if it ever did happen, it happened, in Reseda during some of those PWG shows that, at some point surfaced, online or on YouTube at some point. But I don't think, not that I remember to actually remember seeing a Nick Jackson versus Matt Jackson match.
That's what I kind of like that about them, you know, because every tag team in the history of tag teams is split up and they never have,
Right, right.
you know. Even the Briscoes are pretty loyal to each other, but they've split up for a while. I mean, I don't think on bad terms, but I mean, Jay's been the
Yeah, I
champ a
mean,
couple
it's
times, you know.
storyline, big brother's better than the little brother sort of thing. Like, I want to say, one of the first televised matches, in ROH history was Jay Briscoe versus Mark Briscoe. Like, I want to say it was in, their first couple months of being a show. I mean, those guys have been very dedicated to that program. They've been with that company since the very beginning, 2002, and damn near 18 years or whatever with that company. So yeah, yeah, like I said, not
Huh.
not many brother teams have split up and had legit, one-on-one feuds. I mean, I've
So,
split up and had one-on-one feuds, so I said that a little bass backwards.
yeah. Um, yeah, so I mean, Brett and Owen
Right,
did a
right.
great job. I think right now with how things are going with AEW, with how things are going with AEW, it might be the
Yeah,
time to do
right.
it.
Like I said,
'Cause, I mean, the Bucks they're kind of like, I don't know how to put this. I mean, they're one of the best tag teams in there, but nobody wants to put the belts on them because everybody knows that they're part of the booking
yeah,
team, you know.
that's very
So
tough.
if you put the belts on them, regardless of the fact that they're one of the best tag teams on there, everybody's going to go, oh well, it must be nice being the book, or the only reason there's champions is because the bookers or this or that, or they go into the business for themselves or whatever. Not putting anybody else over. There's a million things that could come from it. So now might be the time for them to split and do something
Right.
else. Because I think I can't remember if it's Matt or Nick, but one of them's a better in-ring guy, and the other's better on the mic. The one with the hair's better on the mic.
Yeah, Matt's better on the mic, and Nick's better in the ring. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So I don't know. That'll be cool though. I'll tune
Yeah.
into that one for sure,
Next
and
Monday.
then we can talk about that. Okay, cool. We can make
There
that
you
part of
go.
the next week's
There
show.
you
I'll
go.
watch that.
So I had two other
Um,
little tidbit things to add before we kind of wrap things up. I know we've been on here talking everybody's ear off for a while, but the Revival has now put in for a new copyright for a new thing.
yeah, I heard that.
Fear the
Was it
revolt
F-
for the FTR still. So the whole
Yeah,
Cody's
okay.
fuck the revival thing that's still got the FTR, but it's Fear the Revolt. So the rumor is they're going to go by the name the
Mhm.
Revolt, and they've already changed their names on Twitter. I can't remember what the hell they changed their names to, but obviously no longer using Scott Dawson and Dash Wilder. They went back to Cash something or other, and I can't remember the other one off the top of my head.
Yeah, that'll be good. Speaking of tag teams that can be utilized, hopefully they get
Yeah,
utilized. Because I'm not super happy with the tag division in AEW. They've got some good tag teams, but they're not utilizing them well. They're kind of using the same recipe that
yeah,
WWE is in some ways, if you ask me. Right now they took two guys that are two top guys that they're not doing shit with and made
I
them the
know,
tag
right?
team champions when they've got perfectly good. There's no reason LAX shouldn't have those belts or fucking even the Young Bucks. Why the fucking Young Bucks
And
not have it?
Lucha Bros. Why haven't they had it yet?
Yeah,
Yeah. Or as much
yeah,
as I
there's a
know
way
you
of
hate
doing
the
it.
Dark Order, I mean, there's another guys you could put it on them for a couple months.
Yeah, or, another good one is
Yeah,
Luchasaurus
Jurassic
and Jungle
Express,
Boy.
exactly.
Yeah, and then I feel like I'm
Oh, there's
missing
private
somebody
parties in
too.
there. They got the
You
Hybrid
know?
2 with Angelico and Jack Evans. Who else are we missing?
Yeah,
Best Friends. We didn't even mention Best Friends. Yeah, so
yeah.
there's plenty of other teams to put
Uh,
it on. But yeah, I kind of was scratching my head about putting it on Kenny and Hangman being they're two singles guys. Yes, they're part of the elite, but why shit on the rest of your tag division and give it to two singles competitors?
it's
Oh,
working
the storyline's
great,
great, but
but
they're singles guys. Why don't you give it to these dedicated
but
tag
then they're
teams?
also and another thing too is they're still fucking working Omega another fucking
Yeah, I mean he's got his
storylines.
ongoing stuff with
You know?
Pac, and now he's best friends with Michael Nakazawa, and he's tagged with Michael Nakazawa recently on Dynamite.
Yeah. It's better for Hangman. They have a
Oh yeah,
good chemistry,
yeah,
is what I like about. And I like this new thing with Hangman being a fuck up kind of, but still being able to come
yeah.
through big all the time. Which they're making that. They're the
Oh
big
yeah.
fuck ups coming
At
at
some
some
point.
point. And then you got Kenny trying to keep him from you know it's before they got separated as one of the most entertaining
Oh yeah.
storylines on there, I thought. And I didn't have a lot of hope for it when it came
Well,
out
they've been
either.
when they've been doing a lot of the extra build or whatever on being the elite as well too. They've implemented a lot of that stuff on there too, and you know, granted, I've mentioned it. I've mentioned it
Have
a
they?
half dozen times now, but man, things were going very very well when everybody was crossing paths. But now COVID's fucked everything all up.
Yeah, I need to. I think maybe I should go watch it, being the elite then, because I really do. I like Hangman. He's one of
Yeah.
my favorites on there. And who else is? I'm a sucker for this guy. I've told you this a bunch, but man, I fucking love Dustin
Oh yeah.
Rhodes on there. Uh, that guy he's still got it for as old as he is, man. And the great thing about him is he made a comeback. He was
Yeah,
in shit shape for
he
a
was
minute.
pudgy near the end of that Golden Truth run. He was not looking good.
Well, and he had well, I'm talking about even before that. His
Oh,
career
I get
was
what you're
like
saying.
almost over. He was fucked up on drugs. He
Yeah,
was bloated, like not just chubby, but
yeah,
fucking bloated. And there's another DDP saved
yeah.
his ass
I mean,
too, I
when
think.
we went to Double or Nothing
Um,
last May, and we didn't actually do a meet and greet with him, but we saw him during the meet and greets, and man, for a 50-year-old dude, he looked good. Like, like,
yeah, he looks like shit with his makeup off in the
oh
face, but his body's good, and he's put on some of the best matches he's put on better matches than he was when
yeah,
he was in his
exactly.
prime as Goldust, or as
The
the
natural was chubby
natural.
as shit in the WCW days. He was still working off the baby
Yeah,
fat then.
yeah, he's in better
Yeah.
shape now than he's ever been in, and he's put on better matches. He's cutting great promos that everybody knew he was going down to Hager, but at the same time, like
Oh, it was
that
a
was
great
fucking
build.
good
Great
build
build.
up, man. What a good person to put Hager with for his
Right.
first,
Right.
match, really. Honestly, at some point, I'd like to see them fucking hand the belts over to Dustin for a while before he's,
Yeah.
walks off in the sunset. I've told you
Yeah.
this
I
before,
mean,
I really hope if he's going to retire in the next 2-3 years or so, like they really should put the belt on him for at least a couple months and make a big deal of it, and maybe have him pass it
yeah.
off to Cody or fucking maybe turn Cody heel for a while or whatever. I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of different angles they could play, but I mean, I think that would make a hell of a story, and I think he deserves it, and I think it'd be believable. It's not like they'd be handing it over to broken ass Hulk Hogan or something. The
Right.
guy's good to go,
Or
putting on
since
great
Cody has
matches.
barred himself because he lost to Jericho, he can never, go after the AEW title. That would be a perfect way to give Cody the AEW title. Is Justin's like, I'm riding off in the sunset. I'm giving this to my little brother. Cody holds on to it for a little bit before he's like, no, I lost it and I'm going to relinquish it. Yada yada yada. I mean, these are just bookings that go through my head, but that's a way to give it to Dustin to then give it to Cody to then give it back to AEW.
Yeah, yeah, or yeah, maybe Dustin can say, yeah, I can give you a shot
Yeah,
because I'm the
I run
champ
this
now.
bitch.
Yeah, this is my belt, and I can fight whoever I
Right.
want. I want to fucking fight you.
And then the last thing I want to bring up was there was a Twitter clip presented by Machine Gun Carl Anderson, hinting that he's going from the U.S. back to Japan. I'm a Bullet Club mark, so obviously I was a pretty giddy for that when I saw that, and seeing Bad Luck Fale and Tamatanga and everybody spouting off on Twitter, the
Yeah,
BC for life stuff, and it's all Carl stuff, and
yeah. Well, Carl Anderson, dude, he had a really good singles
right, he
career
was
over there in Japan.
IWGP Intercontinental title holder at one point. Yeah, I know he challenged for the IWGP Heavyweight title as well, and yeah, he was very over for a Gaijin. He was very over there.
I saw him. I I saw him and Shinsuke
Oh
have a
yeah, yeah,
great
yeah,
match on a on on a YouTube thing I came
yeah,
across. It was fucking amazing. I was like, I was really impressed with the single stuff. So I'm actually maybe that's good for them to break
yeah. I
up,
mean, as
for a
as good
while.
as good as much as I
Um,
like,
because
the Good Brothers together. Carl Anderson by himself was phenomenal in New Japan.
Gallows is good too, man, and Gallows could be utilized in another
Yeah,
organization. This we talked about this, and um, with closing, I mean, I think it's a good thing to close on. Um, I think with all these cuts to WWE, this could really change the game because there's a lot of good talent that got cut that could go someplace and be fucking relevant. And there's a lot of good
oh yeah,
organizations that could use that kind of push and those kind of people right now. We were talking about it earlier, I mean, yeah, fucking Zack
yeah,
Ryder out there
exactly.
now, you know, he'd be good in like
MLW
NWA or
spent some time over there. Yeah, yeah,
Impact, fuck New Japan,
yeah.
even, Um, there's a lot of guys, and then that's not even the guys in the back. Fuck, Billy Kidman would do great as a backstage presence in AEW. Same
Mm-hmm.
with Fit Finley, which he actually Fit Finley might
Yeah,
go back to
I
Japan.
sent you that tweet
I
earlier
mean,
today.
his
Yeah,
son's over
yeah,
there right
David's over there
now,
right
right?
now. Yeah,
So then, trying to think of who
Rowan,
else got cut.
Rusev.
That
Um,
no one could go
yeah,
join the Dark
right.
Order.
I know. Listening to the AEW podcast when Brody Lee, aka Luke Harper, was on there, he said how he was not a fan of Rowan when they first got hooked up because he snored and he was, this and that. But then like they became, great friends, great partners, and he loved the stuff that he was doing, even though he hated the Bludgeon Brothers gimmick. He loved what he was doing with Rowan. So yeah, he'd be another great guy to join the Dark Order.
Yeah, they had a good
Yeah,
tag
the
team
gimmick
going.
was stupid because Vince wanted to make it a demolition of you know 2015 or whatever
Yeah,
years it was, and it just didn't work. But it was the chemistry between the two is great.
yeah, or maybe they put Rowan on the shelf for a minute until this coronavirus shit's over, and they get Brody Lee and his first few feuds going over, and maybe the Dark Order runs roughshod on some fucking maybe fucking who
Yeah,
knows the Elite or somebody. They start and then Eric Rowan's their ace in the hole to
best
fucking get
friends or
them.
whatever. Yeah, right.
You know,
Some baby face
yeah,
tag team.
yeah, somebody like that comes in, and that's Rowan could come into feud with him because he's got the size and the
Yeah,
experience everybody knows, and then nobody probably that'd probably be the best angle to work for a minute because nobody'd
right, right.
expect that. But Rowan would also he'd be another one would be good. He would be really helpful in fucking Impact or MLW or Ring of
Ring of
Honor.
Honor, I think he's too physically big for Ring of Honor because they don't have a very physically statured large roster over there that I think he would be too imposing. I mean, they got Jeff Cobb and Dan Mastiff or Dan Mamp, whatever his name is, but that's their only big guys over there. It is
Yeah, but maybe that would be
need
good. Maybe they
need a
need some
Goliath in
guy like
there.
that just yeah, to run, I mean, because they got what's that dude's that old as fuck guy, the
PCO.
Quebecer dude.
I guess
Yeah, is he still the
no, he
champ?
dropped the
Did he
belt.
drop the belt?
Roosh, formerly of CMLL, Los Ingobernables, he is the current champ over there before COVID.
Yeah, now that we're doing a wrestling podcast, I need to fucking catch up on what's going on with fucking MLW and ROH
Don't
and
worry,
New
I'll
Japan
I'll
and
nerd
shit.
you up on all that stuff.
Um, yeah, Matt Taven just signed another
Yeah, he did sign an
extension
extension
with
with
him, didn't
ROH.
he?
Yeah,
And then so
Marty,
did
yeah, Marty did as
Skrull or
well, and I
Marty.
believe Flip was in the process of, or Flip had just done it right beforehand as well. And they signed a couple more guys from CML. Ray Horace, who'd been doing shows over there. Bandito signed an extension over there. So yeah, they got a very entertaining roster. I just wish they could get off channel 2 here in the Portland area at 12 o'clock at night on Saturday nights. Be nice if they could get a real TV deal. Yeah,
Oh,
Rusev.
Rusev. Where would you put Rusev in
As much as
this?
I would want to see him in AEW, I think he'd be good fit in Impact for a little while.
I don't think I was gonna say I don't think now's a good time to put
Yeah,
Rusev in AEW. I think it would feel too forced,
yeah.
and I don't know where they put it.
The roster would be too oversaturated at this point. But I think he would do well in Impact.
If they had a second show, I think if they
Second
had a
2 hour
second show,
show,
it'd be
yeah,
good. Yeah, you're right. Fucking probably right. Impact, or I mean, even maybe New Japan too, because Rusev's good in the ring. You
right,
haven't seen it for a
right,
while,
right.
but he's good. He's not an NXT guy. He was trained by
Yeah,
Gangrel and Rikishi. He
yeah.
came up the right way.
In
He did his
NXT,
time.
yeah,
Yeah, but at the same time, he wasn't like they didn't like hand pick him to come in.
yeah.
He did time
Not a
on the
very long indie
Indies,
run, but he was there for 3 years or so.
Well, and he did it on the shittiest parts of it too. So he didn't do like he didn't do like Ring of Honor
Right,
or like the
right.
good Indies. He did. God, I'm surprised it didn't get cut is Cesaro. Like, fuck, I would think he'd be first on the chopping block. I think some of it is a lot of these guys
Yeah, I
want
think
their
so too.
release. The Revival wanted their release. Carl's and Gallows or Anderson and Gallows
Yeah.
wanted their release a while ago, so I wouldn't be surprised if they did. And then Rusev has been
Yeah,
very open
he's
about
been
wanting
wanting to be
his
gone for at
release.
least 6-7 months now, easily.
Mm-hmm. So a lot of these guys, and who knows, maybe the backstage people did too. I mean, there's a lot more options out there now. A lot of people knocking on people's doors, and Vince McMahon has been keeping people from that just because it's best for business, paying people money, throwing his shit around. Well, now he's in this position with the coronavirus, and then he's in this position with fucking
Trump appointing him to be the part of this economy
yeah.
restoration or whatever you want to call it.
I was hearing earlier, they're spending a lot of money to move that
you were
headquarters
telling me
down
about
to
that
Florida.
earlier today.
And probably close to $1 billion.
And I guess that's why you drop $4 million, in salaries in a day and a half span. Yeah,
especially with the XFL going out too. Like, couldn't have happened. This coronavirus could not have happened at a worse time for Vince McMahon. So now he's like, okay, you want your release? Fuck you, go. Now, and it's shitty. Well, and it sucks now because, like, look at, AEW. If Vince McMahon's freaking out about this shit and cutting people, imagine how fucking Cody Rhodes and Tony Khan are feeling right now. Especially in these poor guys in fucking MLW and Ring of Honor and shit. Jesus Christ, man. Like, the indie wrestling business, it can't be that lucrative.
So, right?
No, fuck no. So if Vince McMahon's freaking out and cutting a bunch of people, these are pretty good, decent names that you don't want to let go, even if you're not utilizing them best. You don't want to let a guy like Rusev go or Gallows and Anderson go. You don't
want him to go either.
No, exactly. So he's probably at the same time like, well, if I'm going to let him go and they want to go, now's the time to do it because, who knows if AEW's even got the money to pick
or even
going
to take a shot in the dark at chancing anything.
Mm-hmm. I think if AEW is in a position right now, well, first off, I think that they probably are paid up on their salaries for a good year or so. So, they're probably pretty good for now. So hopefully they come out on the other end of this okay. But that would suck if this ended AEW.
Vince wins again.
Because it sounds to me like Vince McMahon had about the same amount of money invested in XFL as there is in AEW. And it sounds like I think a lot of the live shows for AEW were drawn about the same amount as the XFL was. So if Vince McMahon filing for bankruptcy on that shit tells you anything, I think it's probably their TV deal that's saving their ass right now, and the fact that they've got Tony Khan's dad backing them.
As big of venues either. They were running the next, stage smaller in major cities. To be able to run a show with 7,000 people as opposed to WWE, who's trying to run a show, for 1,500 people or 15,000.
There was probably a couple that
there were a couple
people in there at that bet. Real rough ones. Like they need to remember to stick to cities that are wrestling cities for a while. Like do Chicago 20 times a year if you have
Chicago and Philadelphia. Those are wrestling cities.
Yeah. And if you're going to come out to the West Coast, make it Seattle,
Yeah.
So. But yeah. So I think I don't know. You got anything else you want to add?
Like I said, I only had two, but the last thing would be R.I.P. Howard Finkel. He passed away today at the age of 69.
Yeah. Yeah, one of the greats, man. Like I said, I think I'm in the mood to watch some older wrestling again too, so I might go watch some old WrestleManias or something. But he was one of the greatest ring announcers, man.
Yeah, that's all I got. I think that's episode 1.
But yeah. I think it turned out pretty well, man. Hopefully we get a few people on here to check it out.
It's exciting to to get into this with you, because we do this shit all the time when we're talking to each other. It's like, why don't we just put this on fucking audio?
Yeah, I'm glad we found something so easy to be able to do it, and um, if hopefully it's easy.
Right.
I mean, I'm about to find out how easy
Cheap
it is.
plug-in for
I'm gonna
the
put on the
Anchor app.
Yeah, yeah. Hopefully it works good because I think it will though. I mean, and it's only gonna get better too. This is our pilot episode. We get some sound clips and some cool shit to put in there.
Somebody writes us a theme song. Wink, wink.
Get better. Yeah. Oh yeah. I don't know. Maybe we should try to get somebody better to write it though.
Right.
I should put it out there and see. My buddy Brandon that just joined the group is in a band and he's a wrestler. He might be a good person to get on the show to just ask things to, do a cool interview with, and maybe we convince his band to write us a song too. I don't know.
Right.
We'll see how it goes. Only time will tell, man. So, but anyways, man, thanks to anybody who's tuning in. Hopefully we didn't bore you too much with our bullshit.
The reason I'm leaving is you people, because after I'm gone, you're still going to pour money into this company. I'm just a spoke on the wheel. The wheel's going to keep turning, and I understand that. But Vince McMahon's going to make money to spite himself.